Hi everyone, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs, and I'm here with a video that I thought you guys might enjoy. It's not anything new or things that other people haven't done, but if you're new to the junk journaling world, you may have not have seen this before or known how to do it, or maybe you saw it and then you didn't know how to do it. In any case, what I'm doing today is I am going to rust some things. I like a very vintage look on a lot of my journals, and let me just give you an idea. These are some keys. This is a metal piece here, a fleur-de-lis. These are clips that I've rusted. These are some safety pins that I've done. This is a lock. Okay, that would go together. These are rings that you use for journals. I've got little end corner pieces for your journals. Smaller locks I've done. Let's see, I've got all kinds of stuff in here. I've got little metal charms that I've rusted. I've got, let's see, smaller keys, smaller locks. I mean, there's so many cool things in here. Other little charms that I've done. But the thing that I've done the most, that I really use all the time, and I'm running very low on, are paper clips. And I rust paper clips. And when you're clipping in things in your journals, especially when you're trying to make them look vintage and old, and then you get a brand new shiny paper clip, and to me, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't seem like it looks right. So you rust these paper clips, and you can do any size. You don't have to do the larger ones. I actually was looking to do some smaller ones, and I couldn't find any. So, I mean, not that you can't find them. I didn't find any in my house, so I'm not going to be able to do those today. But I'm running very, very low on my paper clips. Now you can see the rust dust in there. I will tell you, a lot of people don't want to do the rust because they don't want it falling off. Like this one doesn't really have any rust. It just kind of oxidized it and made it look aged. Whereas this one has more rust on it. And I guess it just depends on the metal that, you use or whatever. But I like both looks. But if you're worried about that, what you can do, first of all, you take them and you would brush them off with, kind of a stiff brush. And I use just a toothbrush like that. And you would brush it off. Let's say you'll take one that looks a little bit more rusty. You brush it off. It takes a lot of this loose stuff off. And then you just simply, you just spray it with the cheapest hairspray, maximum hold that you can get. I get at the dollar store, and I spray it. Spray the other side, and believe it or not, that makes a huge difference as far as things chipping off of it and having rust dust, as you call it. And that is it's a great sealer. I mean, you could use a more expensive sealer, but I've done this and it works great. So it dries really well. It doesn't change the patina when it's dry. It looks the same. So that's just something to think about if you want to do this. I usually do it as I'm using the item. And as you can see, I've got like a whole big bucket full of things. And I don't really probably need to rust a lot more, just a few things. Mainly paper clips because I am running low on them. On any of my vintage journals, if I paper clip things, I really do use the rusty ones. I also will rust, I have a lot of these those little safety pins, the little, even though they're kind of a antique brass, I like that look. So if you're cutting the journal, here's the corners that I've done, and I've also done a bunch of little brads in here too, and there's some jump rings. There's just different things that I've rusted that I have in these little containers that I just keep in my rusted pile. But I am running very low on a few things, mainly paper clips and the rings for binders. So these are just normal binders that when you make like a 2 or 3 ring journal that you would use, the larger ones and the smaller ones, and these rust really well. These are just normal paper clips that you buy in a box, and you know, there's nothing really super special about them. So I'm going to rust some of those today, and I may throw in a couple other things just to show you how it works. So even though I don't really probably need them, but anyway, this is what I'm going to do, is kind of give you an idea of how I do it. And there are different ways of doing it, and you can also buy a commercial rust solution, which actually I did when I first started rusting things. And to be honest with you, it worked faster, a little bit quicker, but it just, for what it cost, it just wasn't worth it. It was really expensive. It was only like 4 fluid ounces, and I think it was like $8. And, you know, it just didn't do that much. So then I tried this other solution and doing it this way. And while it takes longer, it's just so much cheaper. And I think it turns out about the same. The only difference is it just takes longer. A lot of how it rusts to me has a lot to do with the actual metal you're using more than anything, if it's coated or sealed or anything like that. Okay, so what I use, I have like a little plastic container with a lid. You don't have to have that. You could just do it in a jar. I like it kind of flat so that I can lay the things out and you know, cover it easily and not have to put a lot in. You could use a jar. You could use whatever you want to use, okay? The items that I use is I use just plain white vinegar. And I do realize that right now some of these things are a little hard to find, but I guess if you have them around, go ahead and use them. If not, save this for future reference. Peroxide, just regular old hydrogen. Now, I just got that at the dollar store. I think I got this at Walmart. And just plain old regular salt. That's it. That's all you need. You can measure this out and be very precise. I have just some measuring items from the dollar store that I use just for this, or you can use a little measuring thing to do it. I honestly, I don't do that. I just kind of eyeball it, but you know, I know people want to be precise, so I'm going to try and measure how much I put in there, which I normally don't do, and just to give you an idea of how much I'm using. You might want to use some tweezers, and if you may want to use gloves. It's not that toxic or anything. The fumes aren't bad or anything like that. You can certainly do it indoors, I think, but and you can wear gloves if you want. I don't. I just use some tweezers, and if I get stuff on my hands, I just wipe my hands off. So anyway, and then the items that you want to rust, and like I said, I'm going to be doing some paper clips and some rings, and I think also I have a few other things here. I have this fleur-de-lis. Let me get that. It's got a little piece of glue on there. And then this is a book plate. I wanted to do that. I actually have a couple book plates. I don't think I'm going to do those. I was going to do those, but I have quite a few. This is just a little closure here, and I want to use this for a journal to close on a journal. But I want to go ahead and maybe rust this a little bit just to kind of age it up a little. So I may put that in there. And anyway, so, and then I have another one of, let me open this up. Another one, this is similar to that other crown that I had, because I have an idea for this and I need another one. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to rust all of these things today. It's not something you can do in a day. It does, at least for me, it takes overnight to get it to where I want it. You know, a lot of things on Pinterest and stuff will tell you it'll do it in a few hours. I don't know, in my experience, it does take overnight. But, you know, the whole process can take 5 or 6 hours, and that's because the first part you're going to soak it to get the finishes off. Like all of these different metal items, some of them have more of a finish than others, and the ones that do, they're going to take longer to rust. So when you do this, what you're going to find is some items will rust really easily and then some won't. And that's okay. You just leave them in there longer. Okay, so this is what I do first is I take, and I like using a shallow plastic thing, but you know, you can use some Tupperware or whatever. I like that better than a jar because you can kind of lay things out. Like I take the big things and I kind of lay them in there and put those kind of on the bottom. You can put all these in there. And I take all my paper clips that I want. Okay. And what I do is I just kind of lay them flat on the bottom like that. Right? And then I take, let me open this up. It's not opened. There we go. So I can get that open. There we go. Okay. You can either lay your salt down first or you can do it later. And I take probably, it really depends on how much stuff you're rusting. So it's kind of hard to give you an exact amount. But I would take about a 1/4 cup of salt and sprinkle it all in there. I mean, you can lay it first and some things do, but it goes in between there anyway. And you're just trying to get it evenly in there. So you've got about a 1/4 cup of salt in there. And all your stuff's laying in there. You want to kind of have it semi-evenly in there. Then you want to take your vinegar. Oh, I got to open this up too. And on your vinegar, you probably, I'm just going to pour some in here first, make it easier to pour. You want to pour enough vinegar in there that you are covering all of these items, okay? You don't want to put too much because you don't want to dilute the salt too much. And what the salt and the vinegar are going to do is that is going to take whatever, here, and I'm going to take another, probably about, not quite a 1/4 cup again, maybe about 1/8. And then put that on top just to put a little bit more in there. And you're basically just going to leave that just like that. That's all you do. But what it does is it starts to break down the finish on your your items, okay? So you don't have to leave it covered, but you know, it kind of stinks a little bit. It's not toxic smell, it's a vinegary smell. That's what it smells like, vinegar. So you leave that for about 4 to 5 hours, just like that, okay? So you do that for 4 to 5 hours, and then when you get done, you basically do the exact same thing that we just did, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and I'm going to dump this out for a minute so that I'm going to pretend that this has been sitting for that long. So I'm going to take this solution and put it all in here. Get a paper towel. Actually, I think I'm going to get just a regular towel. That'll be easier. And take all this out. Put all this in here. You take, when it's done, you just take all this stuff out. It does not have to be wiped clean. It doesn't really matter if the vinegar mixes with the other stuff. You're just trying to get most of the liquid out. Okay, so you would wipe it all down. And this is after it's been sitting for 4 or 5 hours. I just do it and leave it overnight. And then the next day, because you really can't leave it in there too long. I mean, you just really can't. I'm going to put all this back in here because I'm going to actually do this later. Now see, I'm putting my hands in there. It's not hurting me. You know, it's just really vinegar. So it's not going to really do anything to you. Alright, so then, and I usually use the same container. I don't do anything special to it. It's not going to do anything. Just kind of wipe that out a little bit. Put all that in there. Okay. So we don't waste it. Alright. So then what we're going to do is after that has been sitting, you're going to kind of pat it dry a little bit. You're going to take your same items, dump them in there, and this is after it's been sitting for, you know, overnight or 4 or 5 hours. And you're going to take that, you're going to put your salt in there. Maybe a little bit more. Just want to make sure there's just salt in there everywhere. Then you're going to take some peroxide, and I don't know, it's hard to give you a measurement because you're just going to be covering the top of whatever your items are. So depending upon how much you have, and you know, so you take your peroxide in there, kind of get it, make sure it covers it. And you're going to let that sit basically, I don't know, it just until you see it rust the color that you want it to rust. Some items, depending upon how much of a finish they have on them, they will rust pretty quickly. Some items will not. I mean, some items will, you know, take days. I mean, I've had some things rust. Usually the paper clips rust pretty quick, but then some of these other items, like a lot of these, they have a finish on them usually. These kind of brassy looking things, and so those sometimes will take a little bit longer. So you know, and also too, you can do it to how much you want it to be rusted. That way, you know, or how, because to some degree you could just take these out, and if you don't want them to be rusty, what'll happen is it'll take the shine off of like these paper clips, And what'll happen is then, you know, you can have them and they just look aged. They just have an aged look to them and they don't look all rusty. So that's pretty much all you do. And what'll happen, and you know, I just take this and I usually put this somewhere with the top on it. That doesn't really smell because it's not, you know, it's just peroxide. And just let that sit there, and I keep checking on it, and I'll pull out things that I want in there that are rusted to how I like them. And like I said, different things will rust at different times, and some will rust more than others. And just take them out and you know, put them on a paper towel, let them dry, and then, like I said, you can brush them off, wash them off later, and you know, they're not delicate or anything. And you just kind of rinse them off, and then you have, like, here's my little rusted paper clips, and you know, and you can just brush them off, and that way it doesn't have all that dust on it and stuff. And if you want to, of course, you can spray them with your hairspray, or you can use another sealer. I pay $1 for this cheap hairspray and use it for that. It works great. But anyway, that is how you do it. It's not hard. I'm going to take these items out and go through the vinegar process again and then redo that later. But the thing is that you have to realize that it does take time, but it is so much cheaper than the commercial solutions, because I really do think it was like $8 for 4 ounces. And you know, 4 ounces is just enough to do this maybe one time, if that. And you know, that's kind of expensive. So this is, you know, relatively cheap. This is $1. I think this was just a couple dollars, and then your salt. So that's really the only investment you're going to have in it. I know somebody asked me one time if you can keep using this solution, and I don't know. I mean, I have, after I've rusted a batch of things, put more things in that same batch, and it actually rusted faster because you already had kind of rust particles in there. But I didn't ever keep it for more than, you know, I think maybe I had it for almost a week, and you know, it did rust more things. So you may be able to take this and put it in a jar or something and reuse it, and because it already has the rust particles in it, it may rust some more. So anyway, that's my video on rusting things, and I hope you guys try it because it's a lot of fun. It does make, like I said, a lot of cool things. So you can make, you know, all these different items. And it's really a blast, and it just kind of makes it look different. And to me, it kind of goes good with the whole kind of vintage look. And you know, it's not hard and it's not expensive, and you don't have to pay a lot for a commercial rusting solution. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys are having a great day and doing some crafting and keeping your mind off of things. And if you haven't heard, on my channel I have giveaway Fridays, and in order to participate in that, you have to be a subscriber. And if you watch any of my videos, even old ones, during the week, and that would be Friday through Thursday, what happens is then on Friday, if you watch a video and comment, every time you comment and watch a video, I put your name in a drawing. So if you watch 5 videos and you comment once on each video, then you're going to have 5 entries. And on Friday, I draw your name, and I have giveaways, and you can look at some of my other videos to see what my giveaways are. And you know, they're stuff that I've destashed, journals that I make, things like that. And anyway, so your name will be in the giveaway. Get your name pulled, and you have up until Thursday of the following week to go ahead and claim your prize, because I have my contact information out there. And if you don't claim the prize, if the person doesn't, then that giveaway gets put in the next week. There's been times where I've had 4 or 5 prizes in one week that I've given out because people haven't claimed things. So You know, and you know, I don't have that many subscribers, so you've got pretty good odds that you can win. So anyway, y'all just remember that. So, and to all my subscribers out there that I haven't been making videos for a while, I was kind of out of it for a little bit. Just hi, I hope y'all are all doing well, and everybody's spending some time getting their mind off of things and doing some crafting, and I will see you guys next time, okay?